with the highest respect for the things that we're learning. Because these things that we're learning does not have to be learned, nor mentioned. But Yahweh God, we being a people that have been lost in the Western Hemisphere of North America, and I mean lost, Yahweh God is putting so many things in place. And that is the knowledge that we once had is the knowledge that we must return. Yahweh God says in the book of Micah, chapter 4, Yahweh God makes mention, chapter 4, verse 10, he says, "Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughters of Zion, like a woman in travel." Yahweh said, labor to bring this forward. He said, because as a woman that is involved in bringing forth a child. And where would you do this? He said, "For now shall thou go forth out of the city, and shall dwell in the field. And thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There Yahweh shall redeem thee from the hands of thy enemies." So Yahweh God said, you shall go into the field. And he said, be in pain to bring forward, O daughters of Zion, like a woman in travel. And we would like to know, where's the field? I would like for us to turn to St. Matthew's 13. In St. Matthew's 13, it gives us an idea of what that saying was, the field. I'd like for us to, St. Matthew's 13, verse 13, verse 38. It says,
the field is the world.
The field is the world. So Yahweh was telling the children of Israel that they were going to go into the field. And in St. Matthew chapter 13, verse 28 said, the field is the world. The world. What? The good seed are the children of the kingdom. But the tares are the children of the wicked ones. And this is in reference to something being sown in the world among the good ones that would dominate the good ones for a particular time. But what I wanted to show you was that the world is the field. And therefore, he says, for now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field. So we are dwellers in the world. And we have come out, and Yahweh has said that he wants us to labor in bringing this into existence, as it says in 2 Ezra chapter 9, verse 22. It says, "Let the multitudes perish then, which were born in vain, and let my grapes be kept, and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect." So Yahweh God says he labored to bring a portion into perfection, and therefore Yahweh God encourages us to participate in that perfection within our own perimeter to bring forth. He said, be in pain and labor. Labor to do what? The thing is that Yahweh wants you to labor to bring yourself into total obedience to the commandments. He wants you to labor to be in total obedience so that you will have righteousness. And therefore, in this righteousness, you will have, as it says in Zephaniah 3, verse 13, the remnant of Israel shall do no iniquity. You will have no iniquity. This is what we're laboring to bring into existence. It says, nor speak lies, nor shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. So Yahweh God is encouraging us to be righteous. He's encouraging us to labor to bring this into existence, into our life. Yahweh God is saying to us, this will give you, Israel, a path back to where you once was. Let's go into Zechariah. Let's go into Zechariah. I'm going to Zechariah 8. And I'd like to begin to explain to you how it is very necessary that we as Israelites begin to understand what Yahweh God, and He has told us. He said, Israel, this is what I'm going to do for you. And these are the things that, and Yahweh is so beautiful that He lets us know not only what He's going to do for us, He let us understand the circumstances by which it will mature. He says, Zechariah 8, verse 1, begins to unfold what Yahweh plans on. He says, again the word of Yahweh of hosts came to me, saying,
Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I was jealous of Zion with great jealousy, and I was jealous for her with great fury. Thus saith Yahweh, I am returned unto Zion, and I will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, and a mountain of Yahweh of hosts, the holy mountain. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, there shall yet old men and old women dwell in the streets of Jerusalem, and every man with his staff in his hand for a very, very age.
That's right, he's going to be old. He's going to live a long time. These are the gifts that Yahweh is telling you that's going to return. He said, who shall arise that they may declare these things to their children, that their children might set their confidence. In other words, don't look around and think this is the end. It's not the end. This is the end of those it is to be the end for. But this is not the end for the righteous that will be obedient to the commandments of Yahweh God. For the remnant that Yahweh God is calling back, He's telling them that He said, I am jealous and I will return. And He's telling you the circumstances by which He will do these things. Continue.
And the streets of the city shall be full of boys and girls playing in the streets thereof.
Yes.
Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, if it be marvelous in the eyes of the
remnant of this people,
these days.
in these days shall it also be marvelous in my eyes. In other words, Yahweh said, doesn't this make you feel joyful, Israel, that these things are to come? And if it's as marvelous in your eyes, it's going to be marvelous in my eyes to bring that your children being in the streets of the world are lost, doing hideous things. In this world, He said, labor, be entranced to bring this in your conduct and obedience to the commandments of Yahweh. Could you take it?
Behold, saith Yahweh of hosts, behold, I will save my people from the east country and from the west country, and I will bring them, and they shall dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God in truth and in righteousness. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, let your hands be strong, ye that hear in these days these words of the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of Yahweh of hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. For before these days there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. For I set all men, every one against his neighbor. But now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days, said Yahweh of hosts.
See, we're going to come back together. We're not going to be engaged in the disconduct that we're engaging in to be against it, to be a divided people. Yahweh said, I'm not going to do this. We are the remnant. Even though Israel has been the sands of the sea, these are the remnant. This is a small to pair what we are. And even in this small remnant, Yahweh is sifting us, and he said he's bringing us together. Those that are Israelites that understand and has been taught correctly, they're not in opposition other than in transgressing the commandments of Yahweh. They're in opposition against that. They're about their business. They don't hate nobody. How could you hate if you about your business? You too busy. The ones that hate, these are the ones that, yeah, they in wickedness. If you about Yahweh, God is going to take care of you. He's telling you, he says, but now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days, said Yahweh of hosts. For the seed shall be prosperous. See, your prosperity is in keeping of the commandments of Yahweh. The comfort and the relaxation so that you could what? Make your calling and election sure, which is to keep the commandments of Yahweh. You are the elect. You didn't get this because of your high intellect. You got this because Yahweh has called you. This ain't because anybody could learn this. No, anybody can learn this. If you ain't called to understand it, you can't learn it because you don't understand the significance of it. You don't understand the real purpose and have pride to learn it. If you just think, well, this is something that somebody's keeping you in the house on the Shabbat, or you shouldn't do this because this interferes, this don't interfere in nothing that is viable for your existence. This is the very essence of your survival. And your essence of your survival is obedience in the commandments of Yahweh God. For you to disannul that, you might as well open up a casket and climb in it and close it, because only you have shook hands and kissed destruction in the mouth. Because that's all you can look for. This world is going to begin, world meaning people, these people are going to begin to have so much conflict. They can't decide even that two men should marry each other. That shouldn't even be a discussion within the normal people of academics that understand the sinful nature of this being put in place. How you going to argue something that is so inhuman, ungodly, never to be accepted into a society that is moral? This is the very fiber of immorality. Why? Being what? Severed, being burnt. Why? Because it's nothing that they are going to be able to do for each other. They can't bring forth no children. What child could they bring forth? Yahweh say, be fruitful and multiply. So you're seeing the very image of God being desecrated right before your eyes. And let us make man in our image and our likeness. So this is what we engage in. We're engaged in seeing that the world is being turned over very fast and is going into total decay because the image of God is being made a mockery of. And therefore we must pray to avoid the circumstances by which this very law is going to put it in law. That never makes it right. It doesn't make it right. It says what? The Gentiles are what? A law unto themselves.
They put it in their law as morally right.
That's right. Because they are law. We got our law from Yahweh God. We didn't get our law from the Gentiles. We didn't even get our law from ourselves. We got our law from Yahweh God. That is what? The law of perfection. So let us continue to engage ourselves into the perfect that Yahweh God has given us. What does it say there? Continue. For the seed, 12.
Okay, for the seed shall be prosperous. The vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase, and the heavens shall give her their due. And I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things, And it shall come to pass that as ye were accursed among the heathen, O house of Judah.
Yeah, see, you was a curse.
And the house of Israel.
Oh yeah, you were a curse. Go ahead.
So will I save you, and ye shall be a blessing. Fear not, but let your hands be strong.
Yeah, see, how God is saying, he said, don't worry about what's going to happen. Just let this go and do the work. He said, because I'm going to save you. It's not that we're going to have a coalition. We're going to have to sit down. Circumstances is going to change in this earth. And this is why it says here in the book, it tells you that the circumstances is going to change. And it says in 2nd Ezra, chapter 2, verse 27, be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance. The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, said Yahweh. You understand? So he said, my hand shall cover thee, so that thy children shall not see hell. So Yahweh said, he said, I'm going to make sure. He said, you're going to have, the heathens going to see this, but they ain't going to be able to touch you. They ain't going to be able to touch you. He said, you're going to have abundance. This is why anybody can make it through the best of times. Can you do it through the worst of times? And Yahweh God is encouraging us to be strong, to be willfully engaged in righteousness, in keeping of the holidays, the Shabbat, and doing these things that perpetuate a union with that Ruach of Yah. That's what you're doing. You understand? If this don't work, what else do you have? You lay down and understand death is a better friend than life. But Yahweh God is called. He said he's going to have young kids in the streets. He said old men going to be so old they're going to have to lean on their stick to hold up. And this is going, in other words, our years in our land is going to be a years that we will enjoy. And Yahweh God said these days will come again. But be strong and not weary. Don't let what you see hinder that you drag and say it'll never come. Yahweh God is a God of deliverance. And he is a God, he said, I will not alter the things that have gone out of my mouth. He has promised us this. And I know that in his promise, he will give each and every one of us everything we need to succeed. And Yahweh God wants us to engage in conversations of righteousness and the strength to endure. That's right, because he said wait. The hardest thing is wait. People get tired. They think it's supposed to come when they engage in it. Yahweh said no. He said, I have this time. This is my time, but I want you to be patient. And I want you to wait. Because you got to remember, I was patient with you before you got into this. I want you to be patient to let me work it out for you. Because you didn't get into this overnight, and you ain't getting out of this overnight. So Yahweh God is explaining this to us. Because there are people that come in, and they want it to happen overnight. It ain't happening overnight. So if you get tired and you become restless, go about your business. Because your action ain't going to bring it in no faster. So let us see that Yahweh God is encouraged. He said, but let your hands be strong. Go 14.
Okay, for thus saith Yahweh, you said 14, right?
Yeah.
For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, as I thought to punish you when your fathers provoked me to wrath, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I repented not. So again have I thought in these days to do well unto Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Fear ye not. These are the things that ye shall do. Speak every man the truth to his neighbor. Execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. And let none of you imagine evil in your heart against his neighbor. and love no false oath. For all these are things that I hate, saith Yahweh.
So this is what Yahweh said. These are beautiful things. He said, so again, I had thought in those days to do well unto Jerusalem. He said even, and that's at 15, and as he says in 12, he says in 11, he says, but now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days. Yahweh God said, he said, I'm not going to treat you the same way. This is altogether going into another understanding that your God is going to embrace you. But it has to come through, it will only come through righteousness. Let's go, same Zechariah, let's go to 2 Zechariah. And I want to bring you up to a greater understanding of what our God is going to do for us. And I'm going to take you back into the land. When we get back to the land, what's going to happen? But let's read this. It says here in Zechariah 2, starting at verse 1. I will lift up my eyes again and look, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof.
And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein.
Now see, that's very important, because the first Jerusalem had walls. There ain't going to be no walls this time. No walls. It won't be a walled-in city. It'll be a city without walls. And I'm going to take you to when we get back what's going to happen. It's written right here. This is the vision of all. Going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. Read 5.
Read 5. For I see
Yahweh,
the Yahweh will be unto her a wall to fire,
of fire,
round about, and will be the glory in the might of
in the midst.
of her.
Now see, this is important. In other words, Yahweh is going to be our wall of fire around it, and he's going to dwell in the midst of us. See, he ain't going to dwell on the outside. Let's go. Ho, ho.
Ho, ho. Come forth
And flee
come
from
from the land of the north,
saith Yahweh.
For I have spoken,
Spread
you
abroad
as the four
winds,
of the heavens,
saith
saith the Yahweh. Deliver thou
thyself,
O
Zion,
Zion, that
dwelleth
with the daughter of the baby
of Babylon.
For
Thus
said the
Yahweh
of hosts, after the glory
has he
me into
sent
me unto the nation which spoiled you. For he that toucheth the apple of his eye.
Okay, go ahead.
For behold, I will
Shake
my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servant, and ye shall know that the Yahweh is the Holy hath sent me.
So Yahweh God is said, for thus said Yahweh of hosts, after the glory has he sent me unto the nations which spoil you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. Yahweh God is telling them that this wrong that you do is totally wrong. And you should not touch him. And he said, for behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And ye shall know that Yahweh of hosts has sent me. 10.
Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come and I will deliver in the midst of thee.
I will dwell in the midst of thee. See, Yahweh God is talking about being with us. Dwelling in the midst of us. See, is he gone?
Said the Yahweh, and many nations shall be joined to the Yahweh in that day, and shall be my people, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that the Yahweh of hosts has sent me unto thee. And the Yahweh shall inherit Judah, his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again.
Yeah, see, Judah is the portion of Yahweh God. Judah is Yahweh's portion. And the thing about Judah being Yahweh's portion, see, it also says in Jeremiah, and let's go to Jeremiah 30, verse 7. It says here, alas, for the day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. And in that same chapter, going to verse 16, therefore all they that devour, and they have devoured us, shall be devoured. And all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil. And all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, said Yahweh, because they call thee an outcast, saying, is this Zion whom no man seeketh after? See, no man seeketh after us. And Yahweh said, is this? They said, and because of their, this is why your mouth will get you in trouble. Because of their slander, and vicious slander, that they engage in continuously, saying, is this God's people? How could this be God's people? This is God's people. And Yahweh God is in disagreement with their perpetuation of their slander. See, you gotta always watch out what comes out of your mouth, because it can engage you into things and bring about things of such horror, and you don't know what it is, and you're the one that has done it. That's why one's mouth should be guarded. So let us go to understand that our God will bring us back into our land. We shall go back into our land. And let's go to Ezekiel 38. I would like to begin to read that to you, to let you be engaged into what's going to come back. But as Yahweh God told the children of Israel, he said, and I'm at Ezekiel chapter 38, and I'm starting at verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, thus said Yahweh Elohim, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back, and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bullocks and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Liberia, with them, all of them with shields and helmets. Gomer and all his bands, the hosts of Togarmah of the north quarter and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and in gathering out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which has been always wasted, but it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands, and and many people with thee. Thus said Yahweh Elohim, it shall also come to pass, that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. See, I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which has gotten cattle, goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. Sheba, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, art thou come to take a prey? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? I'm at Ezekiel 28. I'm reading verse 14, 38.
What chapter, what verse?
I'm at Ezekiel 38, verse 14. Therefore, son of man, prophesied and say unto God, thus said Yahweh Elohim, in that day when my people of Israel dwell safely, shalt thou not know it? And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, thou and many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company, and a mighty army. And thou shalt come up against my people of Israel. As a cloud covers the land, it shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee again against my land, that the heathens may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes. Thus said Yahweh Elohim, art thou he of whom I have spoken in old times by my servant the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years, that I will bring thee against them? And it shall come to pass at the same time, when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saying, Yahweh Elohim, that my fury shall come up in my face. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fish of the sea and the fowl of the heavens and the beasts of the field and all creepy things that creepeth upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, said Yahweh Elohim. Every man's sword shall be against his brother, and I will plead against him with pestilence, with blood, and I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him, an overflowing rain and a great hailstone, fire and brimstone. Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself, and I will be known in the eyes of many nations, and they shall know that I am Yahweh. Now we will continue to understand that this great army, when we go back home, will come up against us. Let's go on and read further. Verse 1, go ahead.
Therefore, thou son of man, prophesy against God, and say, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn back and leave but the sixth part of thee, and will cause thee to come up from the north part, and I will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel, and I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and will cause thy arrows to fall out of thy right hand, and thou shalt fall upon the mountains of Israel, thou and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee. I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and to the beasts of every field to be devoured. Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, saith Yahweh. And I will send a fire of the God, and among them that dwell carelessly in the isles, that they shall know that I am Yahweh. So will I make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel. And I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore. And the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, it is come, and it is done, saith Yahweh Elohim. This is the day whereof I have spoken. And they shall dwell in the cities of Israel, shall go forth, and shall set on the fire, and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, and the bows, and the arrows, and the handstaves, and the spears, and they shall burn them with fire 7 years.
Yeah, they will have, that's how much weapons. They will burn their weapons for 7 years. Go ahead.
So that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forest, for they shall burn the weapons with fire. And they shall spoil those that spoil them, and rob those that rob them, saith Yahweh.
See, they're going to bring up all that wealth that they have robbed us from. We're going to go and take it off them. But this is when we're going to go back. We're going to return back to our land. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day that I will give unto Gog a place there of graves in Israel, the valley of the passengers on the east of the sea. And it shall stop the noses of the passengers, and there shall they bury Gog and all his multitude, and they shall call it the valley of Hammedah.
That's right. See, it's going to be stink. That's why they said that they knows. When they go by and say, oh my God, we're going to bury all of them. It's going to be a multitude, but they're going to bring the riches of the world up to us. All that we leave here, they're going to bring to us. And we're not going to be able to go into our forest for 7 years, because we'll be able to take their weapons and burn them. 7 years. That's the multitude that's going to come up to ravish and to subdue us. And we ain't going to have no army. This is going to be a something that they will engage with Yahweh God. Yahweh God is going to engage them in this way. They're going to turn against each other. He's going to rain down hailstorms, because when they come up against us, it ain't going to be our defense is Yahweh living in the midst of us. Yahweh ain't going to go. This is a beautiful time to understand that we are going to be victorious. Yahweh God is going to give us the victory. And we should teach these things to encourage our kids. This ain't the end. This is the beginning. This is the end of them and the beginning of us. So continue. 12.
In 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them, that they may cleanse the land. Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them, and it shall be to them a renown the day that I shall be glorified, saith Yahweh. And they shall sever out men of continual employment passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the first face of the earth, to cleanse it. After the end of 7 months shall they search, and the passengers that pass through the land, when they see if a man's bone, then shall he set up a sign by it, till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hamagog. And also the name of the city shall be Hamagana. Thus shall they cleanse the land. And thou, son of man, thus saith Yahweh, speak unto every feathered fowl, and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves, and come together yourselves on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink blood. Ye shall eat the flesh of the mighty, and drink the blood of the princesses of the earth, of rams, of lambs, and of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatling of Bashan. And ye shall eat fat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken of my sacrifice which I have sacrificed for you. Thus ye shall be filled at my table with horses and chariots, with mighty men, and with all men of war, saith Yahweh of Elohim.
And I will set my glory among the heathens, and all the heathens shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am Yahweh their God from that day and forward. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they transgressed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hands of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgression have I done unto them, and hide my face from them. Therefore thus said Yahweh Elohim, now will I bring again the captivity of Jacob, and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and I will be jealous for my holy name. 26.
After that they shall mourn their shame and all their trespasses whereby they have trespassed against me. When they dwell safely in their land, and none made them afraid. When I have brought them again from the people and gathered them out of their enemies' land, and sanctified in them in the sight of many nations.
See, so Yahweh God is saying that would be able to, you can read 28.
Then shall they know that I am the Yahweh, their God, which caused them to be led into captivity among their heathen. But I have gathered them unto their own land, and have left none of them any more there.
Okay, go ahead.
Nations will
Neither
will I hide my face away
anymore
from them. For I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, saith Yahweh.
So he said, neither will I hide my face anymore from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, said Yahweh Elohim. So we're looking at what is going to occur when we return. that great multitude will come up. And I'd like to say, may Yahweh continue to bless us and keep us and strengthen us, because this book that they have given us is our passage back home. It was promised that it would happen, and we should be thankful that Yahweh God has kept his word. So I can only say to you continuously, may Yahweh bless you. May Yahweh God continue to encourage you to keep his commandments and do his will, to serve him and to love your God, because there's no one that's going to help us other than him. As it says in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 14, but the word is very nigh unto thee in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. So he says, for this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hid from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldest say, who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us, that we may hear it and do it. But the word of Yahweh is nigh unto thee in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou may do it. So Yahweh promised us, and that is in Deuteronomy chapter 30, and it is starting at verse 11 to verse 14. May Yahweh bless us and keep us. May the Spirit of our God ever be with us. May we do that which is acceptable and honorable. May Yahweh have mercy upon us, and may we love our God eternally. Amen.
Amen.